Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here's what we have in the bulletin.
30 Haitians repatriated after illegal landing in Portland. St. Anne Municipal Corporation split over legacy project funding cuts. And later in sports, former national table tennis champion returns to the sport.
Now the details. 30 Haitians have been sent back just days after illegally landing at a beach in Kensington, Portland. The group was deported on Wednesday night via a Jamaica Defense Force vessel. They were being held at a facility in Manchonil. According to reports on Sunday, the police detained 18 males and 3 females, including at least 2 children. 9 others were subsequently found. 5 Haitians remain on the run. There was tension at the latest sitting of the St. Anne Municipal Corporation Tuesday over the reduction in spending on legacy projects across the parish. O'Shane Masters reports.
Under the previous agreement, councillors were earmarked to receive $1.3 million for various projects. When the matter was put to councillors at the corporation's finance committee meeting on Monday, 13 agreed to a reduction to $750,000. Councillor for the Limehall Division, Geneva Gordon-Bailey, who was absent from the meeting, raised objection at the recent monthly sitting of the corporation.
You can't sit down in a council coming from 1.2 to accept 700,000. What is it going to do?
The corporation's CEO sought to provide an explanation.
Council has undertaken 2 other projects for each council division for this financial year. You have done an LED program, and you have also, funding has also been provided for back to school.
Madam, those have been with all due
Councillor, it's the same thing we're talking about a while ago, you know. We have to conduct the meetings so that we get from the meetings what we need. Those projects have been undertaken for this financial year.
Back to school and LED has been happening from 2017. All those have been happening from 2017.
And
those
so
are
has the legacy
projects here.
However, the Limehall Division councillor would not relent.
I want to let the record show that I am disappointed in what the decision that was taken, and I have a right to do so. It is as if there's a spoke in your wheel in this municipal corporation. You can't have a vision for the division and plan about certain things. Personally, for me, while I believe in drain cleaning and cut down trees and bush and that, me not really come here and hold it for bushing and drain cleaning business. Me want when me left, something is there to say when Geneva, in spite of all that is being said, the legacy project is something that I embrace.
Chairman of the corporation, Michael Belnavis, in a subsequent interview, says Mrs. Gordon-Bailey will have to.
She has to accept what the majority have agreed on. So that is where it's at now. So it is at a point where councillors can get $750,000 to do a legacy program, and consistently throughout for the next financial year. Thereafter, it'll come up again to council, financial year 2026-27. For further discussion.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Still in St. Anne, the Public Health Department is reporting a decline in mosquito breeding sites across the parish. However, health officials are urging residents not to become complacent.
The mosquito index for the parish of St. Anne now stands at 11.2%. This is indicating a decline in positive mosquito breeding sites compared to 13% recorded in July.
10.5% of our containers inspected were found with breeding, also a decline from 14.5% for July. While this represents a lower level of mosquito breeding, there is still cause for concern. We'd like to see the indices in a single digit or below, because once we have breeding, I know female infected mosquitoes, they are the transmitters of the dengue fever virus.
The Bretu Index BI for July was 25%, which declined to 21.2% in August. The BI measures the density of mosquito larvae by calculating the number of positive mosquito containers per 100 houses.
Although we have met the target because 25% is the national target. So for August, we would have met that target, 21.25%. Notwithstanding that is the parish index. However, for individual communities, we continue to see a high Bretu index in some of the communities. And these are communities including Parrytown, Holgate, Clamstead, that is Top Clamstead, Bamboo, Douglas Castle, Fort George, Bensonton, and Clapham.
The Health Department continues to seek engagement and partnership with councillors in the corporation during community meetings. This is by encouraging residents to cover water holding containers, among other measures.
The Health Department's vector control interventions continue at a steady pace as we continue in the warmer weather with anticipated intermittent rainfall when conditions are likely to favor increased mosquito breeding. Our mosquito control interventions were carried out in 30 communities in the 5 health districts across the parish. As part of the control measure, we had 9 sessions of fogging carried out in 3 commercial centers, 3 ports of entry, 3 high-risk, and 3 low-risk communities.
Carrie-Ann Simpson, TVJ News.
Newly elected Member of Parliament for St. Mary's Central, Omar Newell, says he will be adjusting his plans to fit the programs outlined by the government.
As far as the infrastructure in the constituency is concerned, it's been crumbling for some time. And yesterday, the Prime Minister in Parliament said one of the things he's hoping to do in his new chapter is to be more equitable in terms of the distribution of infrastructure resources. And so Central St. Mary will be calling on him for our share.
Mr. Newell says he will also be pushing for the reconstruction of the promised 2-store market in Highgate. The market was destroyed by an electrical fire in
terms of Highgate and Port Maria Town, as I had mentioned on the campaign trail, there's a need for a town planner to come in and to really study and look at how we bring some order to those spaces. And speaking of Highgate, there's the unfinished business of the market that the Prime Minister had announced last year, February, that they were close to executing. Well, we want our market in Highgate. And so that is one of the things that I'll be calling on.
Agriculture Minister Floyd Green is sounding the call for Jamaicans at home and abroad to put their money where the crops are. He says the government's agro-parks are ripe for investment, offering ready-made infrastructure, fertile lands and opportunities to modernize farming while boosting food security. O'Shane Masters reports.
Agriculture and Fisheries Minister Floyd Green is urging Jamaicans at home and abroad to increase their investment in the government's Agro-park program. Mr. Green says the agro-parks, which were established to modernize local farming and boost food security, offer significant opportunities for profitable ventures in crop and livestock production. He noted that these facilities already provide critical infrastructure such as irrigation systems, farm roads and market access support to investors.
This is not a government that talks about agriculture and doesn't do the work. This is a government that is putting the infrastructure that we know is necessary to reduce the cost of your investment so that you can maximize your profitability. So when we do Southern Plains, that is what we're doing.
As for the Essex Valley Agro-park, the Agriculture Minister says substantial work has already gone into that facility. He says 5 wells have already been dug and facilities to deal with processing.
We expect that Essex Valley will be on stream by the first quarter of 2026. Massive investment. We have learned from mistakes of the past. So yes, we've been doing agro-parks for a long time, but to be honest, some of the agro-parks that we developed in the past were agro-parks in name. As in there was an area that you identify as an agro-park, but it didn't have the infrastructure to ensure the success of your enterprise. And what the government is saying now, any agro-park that we develop, we're putting in the requisite infrastructure. Water, roads, storage.
Mr. Green says so far one major manufacturing company has bought into the Agro-park program.
Walker's Wood has taken about 70 acres of our Parnassus Agro-park, and they need it, and they need more. But you know they want to partner with a number of you. Another wonderful gentleman, his name slips me now, but I'm sure it will come back to me, that I met at the launch of Parnassus, is one of our diaspora investors. Not an agriculturalist. Literally said, he's been following the Ministry of Agriculture. He's been hearing about the potential. He wanted to come back to Jamaica, but he wanted something that he could make real money from, and invested in 90 acres, which is a combination of Scotch bonnet and orchard crops.
He says the goal is to create a modern, high-output agricultural sector capable of reducing imports and increasing exports. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
There's a call for increased access to education to be used as a tool to address indiscipline in schools and the society. The call was made at a recent civic ceremony in Manchester to observe World Peace Day. Krista Campbell reports.
The September 9, 2025 4-hour-long shootout between a lone gunman and the security forces in Mandeville, Manchester has left a stain on the image of a parish once celebrated for its low crime rate. In fact, Mandeville was designated the first peace town in the English-speaking Caribbean in 2023 by the International Institute for Peace through Tourism. A peace monument installed at Brooks Park in Mandeville in honor of that designation has since been relocated to the grounds of the Manchester Horticulture Society. But as crime and violence increase across the parish, there is a warning about the negative impact on indiscipline, which remains a challenge among students across the island. Student leaders from the Carteret College in Manchester weighed in.
In our broader society, we see where indiscipline is normalized now. That even the other day, the most popular story that's going around with Brown Man and the police, we see that an adult came on television and he said in his report that the shootout was a good shootout. Now, what message are we really bringing or sharing toward the young people about discipline?
A lack of discipline creates disorder and it doesn't help with learning effectively. So I believe as a student leader, it's good to embody discipline and help to teach others self-respect.
For his part, chairman of the Manchester Peace Coalition, Dr. Clifton Reed, says an annual celebration of exemplary fathers in several communities in the parish is one way the organization is trying to promote a more peaceful society.
Especially those fathers from socioeconomically challenged communities that are doing a wonderful job, but just not being elevated. And in this day and age, when parenting is a challenge, we want to lift up those fathers, particularly for young boys, to see what good fathering looks like.
He says the Peace Coalition currently works in 21 communities, but wants to increase that number. Meanwhile, clinical psychologist Dr. Paul Smith explained the importance of education in teaching equity and justice, which he stressed ultimately lead to a more peaceful society.
It is torn by conflict. Education has been a beacon of hope. In refugee camps, inner cities, outer cities, in post-war cities, and in marginalized communities, schools have become sanctuaries, spaces where children learn not only math and science, but tolerance, empathy, and coexistence.
World Peace Day was observed in Manchester on Monday under the theme Advancing Peace Through Education and Justice. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
Peace it is. It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. It's now time for the Business Minute.
Margaritaville Turks has more than doubled its annual profit. For the year ended May 31, the company posted net profit of $1.6 million, up from $678,000 last year. Revenue climbed 22% to $9.6 million, with earnings per share rising to 2 US cents compared to 1 cent in 2024. For the year ended May 31, Express Catering posted net profit of US $3.76 million, up from US $1.4 million in 2024. Profit before tax climbed to US $4.4 million on stronger operating performance and lower finance costs. Revenue held steady at US $25.9 million, while earnings per share rose to US 23 cents from 9 US cents last year. Further afield, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said the Fed cannot ignore the risk of higher inflation. Mr. Powell addressed a Rhode Island economics event and described the dual issue threat as a, quote, challenging situation, end quote, for policymakers.
Uncertainty around the path of inflation remains high. We will carefully assess and manage the risk of higher and more persistent inflation. We'll make sure that this one-time increase in prices does not become an ongoing inflation problem.
For the Business Minute, I'm Shane Masters.
Time now for the top stories from around the world.
In the region, education ministers from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States begin a two-day meeting on Thursday aimed at advancing the goals outlined in the OECS Education Sector Strategy OESS 2012 to 2026. Developed in response to the unique needs of small island developing states, SIDS, the OESS provides a roadmap for harmonized and impactful education reform across member states in the sub-regional grouping. On the international scene, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has been found guilty of criminal conspiracy in a case related to taking millions of euros of illicit funds from the late leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. The Paris Criminal Court acquitted him of all other charges, including passive corruption and illegal campaign financing. Sarkozy, who claims the case is politically motivated, was accused of using the funds from Gaddafi to finance his 2007 election campaign. In exchange, the prosecution alleged Sarkozy promised to help Gaddafi combat his reputation as a pariah with Western countries. Sarkozy was the president of France from 2007 to 2012. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Prince Moore.
Thank you, Prince. We take another break. Sports is next.